Hi, my name is Faizal. I'm a matte painter in Sony animation at the moment. Prior to this, I've been working for VFX. Sony will be my first animation company ever.
Now, matte painting, was that what you had initially wanted to go into? Because you started your career in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, and now
Yes.
you're in Vancouver. So was this the plan all along? Walk us through like your journey, I guess, because that's a big leap.
For anyone who's in school who's trying to figure out what they want to do, because it can be overwhelming. Like, should I be a lighter? Should I be a concept artist? Should I be a rigger? There's a lot of things that you can work on, but it's you will find your footing once you have a hang of like being in school and whatever makes you feel, hey, I want to do this for the next 10 years and not regret being what you want to do for the time to come. Why I choose mapping thing is because it has best of both worlds personally in terms of being technical and being artistic at the same time. Where when I mention artistic, you have to know your fundamentals, your lighting, your perspective, anatomy to a certain degree if it is whatever you're working on. For technical wise, in terms of camera projection, modeling, like lighting stuff that means that I have to constantly learn, and I like that. I like learning, picking up new softwares, and even learning how to draw again. Sometimes you get too technical, you pull yourself back, and it helps you to build a well-rounded artist. Back in Singapore, I was in a when I finished school, I was accepted as what's it called, the Jedi Master program. Back in Lucas had that. I'm not sure if they have it now, but back in those old times,
The olden days.
I yes, I was in the matte painting master program, Jedi Master program, and it was difficult because there I was after school. I have no working experience, and I'm with everyone who had, you know, advertising experience, experience, not film experience, but they want to get in the footing. Hey, back then, I mean now as well. Like who doesn't want to work for ILM? So it's. I mean, I didn't get in. I didn't. I was accepted, which is fine because I learned a lot. And what came out from that is fundamental stuff. But also, I came across artists that would, when I was kicked out, and I just asked like I asked for advice on like so. Hey, and one artist, I don't remember his name, but he just told me just maybe work yourself towards. I was a roto artist in the beginning, so I had like maybe it could be painful because I had like 2 3 years doing roto. It's not what I want to do basically,
Yeah.
but he told me maybe pick it up because you learn how to really learn to see film, like how things are shot in film properly. Like how to see, how to spot mistakes, how to spot, and it will help you. But it benefits you. As a matte painter, and it helps to train your eye as
Hmm.
well, how to look at things. And that from one word, I keep bugging the creative director. Hey, I want to be a matte painter. So every like a couple of months, I would just go to his office, knock on his door, and say, "Hey, is there any slot?" And a few months later, "Hey, is there any slot?" So yeah,
And I think there's a lot to be said for the self-fulfilling prophecy, where if you constantly tell your lead or your soup something about yourself, they will eventually begin to believe it on some level. Maybe not like so. If you're always like, oh man, I'm so dumb. How could I have not seen that? And you always say that, then I think your supervisor is going to start to see you as being dumb. Or
yeah,
like if you're constantly like, hey, I know I'm doing this, but I want to be a matte painter. Like when they think of you, they're going to think, oh, this person, they want to be a matte painter. So it's like it's important to take captive what you're putting out about
yeah,
yourself to those around you, because that's you're feeding their
yeah.
perception of you.
Yeah, and it also comes with also showing up with things to show them. You can't be saying, "Hey, I want to be," back then I was, I want to be a matte painter. I want to do some concept and stuff like that. But you can't just, blow your horns and nothing to show. Like it's one of those things that even when I show something, it has to be, an update. I'm constantly working working, I'm constantly doing something. It's not easy for sure, but if it is that you want to do, then go ahead. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's not enough just to say it. You have to back it up
Yeah.
with personal projects.
From what I know, because I was back then, I mean, I'm still enthusiastic with stuff, but back then when DNAC Singapore opened up and the offices there, like I go to the roadshow, I was always there. So even the back then, she was the head of HR. Like she told like one of my good friends, like he told me like I was even hired before even applying
Mm.
because hey, it's that guy. It's like he won't leave us alone. But but yeah, you have to show up. You have to be don't be a creep, of course, but just say, hey, this is my portfolio. I'm really interested because sometimes they just want people to be enthusiastic with what they want to do because it's
Yeah.
not an easy job in terms of long hours and but it's one of those things is if you are enthusiastic enough, they will just like hey, just give a chance.
Like you want to be someone that they want to work with, because like you said, things can get kind of intense, and so
Yeah,
if you're someone who's legitimately passionate about what they're doing and enjoys it, then
yeah.
that's going to be much better than someone who's just like, I need a paycheck and I have experience.
That's right. That's right.
But so you've worked both matte painting for live action films and matte painting for animated films. What would you say is the key difference working between the two different types of movies?
It's interesting because when I maybe prior to Sony, I've been working in DNEX Singapore for 7 years plus. So it was quite a jump because in terms of trying to rewire your brain and say, hey, it's you're not looking at plates, you're not looking at something realistic. Like you're given color keys, it might look very different realistically, like whatever you see in the environment. But and also you can be a bit more creative because it's not real.
So, just for the uninitiated,
Yeah.
when they're shooting a live action film, let's say, they're shooting Michael Fassbender on a green screen with like a partially built foreground set, that footage is called the plate. And so, in VFX, what you've got to do when you're doing the background for that shot is you have to match it to the plate so that like
Yep.
you don't see the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Now, Zal, when you mentioned the color key, that is essentially like loose concept art that shows the visual style of the animated film. So
Yep.
you're always kind of matching to something, but at the same time, it seems like when you're matching to the plate, you've got to nail it because those two have to live in the same world. But matching to a color key is more like guiding a ship by a star. So you're heading in that direction. You're going to try and get as close as you can, because either way, you're dealing with something someone else has created to send you. What types of directorial style do you like to see from the client? Like, what kind of client makes your job easy? And you don't have to talk about specifics for NDAs or anything, but in terms of specific films or people, but talking about like practices.
In a way, it's good to not focus on the end result now. Always constantly check in with them. Am I going the right direction? It's a good way to say it that way, because sometimes I'd be working for 2 days, 3 days, like this glorious painting, and nah, this is not what we want, and you pull back and like, oh crap, I have to redo this again. So it's good to always send something not completely rubbish, but at least 70% out there, and like, hey, whoever your supervisor is this what the client want? Because if you don't have even initiate conversation with them, it's gonna be difficult because you might put your heart and soul into a painting and say, nah, this is not what we want. Especially for animation where it's kind of like it's not based on realism, it's based on, I guess, more artistic, more emotional, more out of the ordinary. So it play with your if you have to really be more I guess assertive. I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, but you have to be more vocal about, hey, is this what you want? If not, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and let's do what you want.
So like hypothetically speaking, you wouldn't want to work on this highly detailed, fully realized like landscape and then show it to the director and they're like, yeah, that's perfect. Now can we have the sun on the other side of the screen? So changing the like direction. I can't confirm or deny I've ever been in this situation, but yeah, you've got to know where you're going, but then at the same time, trust the artist to get there along the way and guide them, I guess, when it comes to big client.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something you have to really speak up, like, and then just you trust your supervisor will lead you the right way. Your VFX supervisor knows what they want, and it makes things more comfortable for you as an artist because you don't stay late because oh crap, this is definitely different what was told to me and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's really in the client's best interest too, because all that time we spend rendering. When I say render, I mean like painting details into. Putting all that time and effort into something that invariably will have to change due to client notes. So I think it's so important to be clear and open on both sides, because it's their money we're spending. It's we don't want to waste it.
True. This is not your personal work where you feel so invested in it. It's work still. I mean, it's good that it's your creative artistic views, but again, like it helps you pay the bills. And the thing is that this is what they want to do. Okay, just you have to. That's how I felt like years ago. Like, oh god dang it, why don't it? I mean, the as years, I won't say jaded, but it's like as the years goes by, like, oh okay, oh well, we hate it.
You've gotta have a separation, because if you're so vulnerable because you're putting your heart into your work, then you're also going to get your heart broken. Like you're going to get hurt on an emotional level if you're putting so much of yourself into your work.
And if that happens, just take a step back, shout in the pillow and then come back later.
Yes. And I think it's unavoidable. I think most artists starting out, particularly with maybe matte painting, maybe animation, particularly with anything that's closely related to fine arts or acting, I think it's learned. That separation is learned. I think instinctively most people will put too much of themselves into something. So if people are interested in seeing your work or reaching out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
You can see my work at www.zalmt.com. Is that enough? www.zalmt.com.
You can use as many W's as you want. Or maybe not. I don't know how the internet works.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, give us a like. If you didn't, don't. Head on over to thehungrycreatures.com for more episodes, short films, or to sign up for our free magazine. Catchphrase.